Hello everyone, welcome to Story Time with Chinwe Oyilidikenwa for the Storyteller. Today I'll be telling a story from my new book, Karma. And the first story in this series is You Reap What You Sow. This story is about Adaku, who lived in the eastern part of Nigeria. Adaku lived with her husband and her stepdaughter, Noma. Actually, Adaku's husband, Obiora, was first married to Noma's best friend, Adora. You see, Adaku had always wanted Obiora, but Obiora didn't like Adaku then. It was Adora that he had eyes for. And so he had married Adora, and this hadn't made Adaku happy. But unfortunately, a year later, while she was giving birth to her daughter, Adora died during childbirth. And of course, this made Adaku happy. She had her chance. And before you know it, she wove her way and manipulated her way, and soon Obiora got married to her. But having achieved her goal, it still didn't make her happy. Anytime she saw Noma, the child that her best friend Adora had before she died, it always made Adaku very bitter. She didn't like the girl. She also had her own daughter Isioma, and Adora's daughter Noma and her daughter Isioma were very close. In fact, they lived like twin sisters. They did everything together, and their father took very good care of them. But this didn't make Adaku happy. She just didn't want to see Noma, Adora's daughter, anyway. But there was nothing she could do to the girl. She couldn't maltreat the girl because her husband Obiora was a very firm man, and he didn't joke with any of his daughters. But in her heart, she kept plotting how she will eliminate this innocent girl, Noma. And so I think one Mothering Sunday, she believed her opportunity had come. Now, Mothering Sunday is a time in Easter, in everywhere in Nigeria, everywhere around the world, where mothers are celebrated. And in the eastern part of Nigeria, mothers cook because their children come from far and wide to visit them, bring them gifts. So when you go to mother's house on Mothering Sunday, there's always enough food to eat. So children and youth, everybody, they're always visiting mothers to eat different varieties of food. So that particular Sunday, she had come home, she had finished cooking. And so her husband, Obiora, told her he was going out. She gave him his food to eat. And then when Obiora left, she put her plan to action. She dished out Noma's food and added poison, which she had gotten from a native doctor, into the food and covered it. While she was still about to take her own food, just about to dish her food, she heard a car honking outside. And so when she went out, wow, it was her daughter Isioma and her husband and her grandchildren. They had come to visit her also for the Mothering Sunday. So she was so excited. She sat down, gisting with them. And Isioma got up and said, let me dish food. And she said, yes, dish food for your husband. So Isioma put food for herself and her husband and her children. And then she also gave her mother a plate of food. And they were all eating. Everybody was gisting. It was when Adaku had eaten far into the food. She had taken a lot of the food. And then it came to her mind, and she asked her daughter Isioma, which food did you give me? And Isioma said, Mom, it's the food you were dishing for yourself. I saw a food you covered for yourself in the kitchen. I just gave it to you. I know maybe you wanted to eat it when we came in, so you covered it. So I just gave you that one, and I dished a new one for myself, my husband, and my children. And then Adaku shouted, you have killed me. Isioma and her husband were confused. They didn't know what she meant by you have killed me. And Isioma was, Mommy, what is wrong? Is it not your food that I covered? She said, you have killed me. And before you know it, she started to vomit. She started to jerk. And her daughter and the husband, they raised the alarm. The villagers, everybody came in. And they were asking her, what happened? What happened? Even then, Noma had come back because everybody heard the noise. And everybody ran to the compound to find out what was happening. That is when Adaku began to confess that she had never liked Noma, Adora's daughter. And she had always had a plan in her heart to eliminate her. And that this hatred increased when the prince of the village declared interest in marrying Noma, Adora's daughter. And she was like, why will her best friend always get the best more than her? Even in death, her daughter was still getting the best. Yes, her own daughter Isioma was married, but she was jealous that it was the prince who was going to marry Adora, and she didn't want it at all. So she went to work. And that is why the food her daughter gave her mistakenly was the food that she poisoned for Noma to eat. And so that is how, after confessing, Adora fell down and died. And the whole villagers were shocked. Everybody was surprised. People were like, wow, this type of karma is very fast. Oh. He didn't even wait for a long time. She reaped what she sowed immediately, not on the spot. And that is the end of the story. I hope you enjoyed the story. Watch out for another story from my book, Karma. Thank you. Once more, this is Chinwe Oyedeke Nwafo, the storyteller.